Evil Popcorn Podcast. I am Scream Queen, and today we are bringing you a top five. We are doing the top five final girls, each of our top five final girls. And I'm Scream Queen, so that's me. I'm final girl, I guess. I'm the final girl of this podcast.
You are the
Um,
final, the final
the
girl.
final girl. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
That voice you heard is Mr. Popcorn, and I'm very keen to talk about this. Great choice there, Baron. Or great remembering,
Mm.
because this is my favorite trope in horror. Thinking about it today, yeah, I think this is the most classic, iconic, whatever you want to call it, trope in horror. And I realize it's kind of largely one of the reasons I came to it, horror in the first place. So yeah, very keen to talk
Mm.
about this. Baron, sorry,
Okay.
how are you?
It's all good. I'm well, and yourself, Mr. Popcorn?
Very good.
Good. Scream Queen, you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very keen.
Yes. So yes, I'm the Baron. I really like horror movies that have got a final girl in them. Some of my favorites are that particular formula. Love it. And I think I've included my first exposure to a final girl in my list as well. So yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
good one. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm very keen to see which route we've gone because obviously I feel like there are names that pop up very, very consistently, like when you Google
Oh,
Final
yeah.
Girl. Um, should we start with like the origins of the Final Girl or how we would define a Final Girl?
Yeah.
I think I'm just curious to hear how you would define it. So going back to what a final girl is, the term, sorry, was coined by Carol Clover in an academic article that she wrote called Her Body Himself, Gender in the Slasher Film, which was written in the 80s, which is sort of when the phenomena sort of took off. So how would you define a final girl? Both of you. Either Baron, how would you define a final girl?
Um, I think for me, the final girl is the person that you're supposed to be rooting for throughout the film. It's the person that you want to win or get through at the end or survive. Often they are a person of good morals or
Yeah.
they're virginal
Hmm.
and they're good people who you want to survive. So I think
Yes.
you're meant to be pulling for that person to get through to the end of the film and kill the evil.
Yeah, totally. And I like that is classically what like in this book, how she sort of explores the final girl. Which I think is very interesting because, there is like there are two sides to the coin of the final girl. Like it's a like very empowering figure, but it can also be lean into a lot of, I guess, stereotypes about like the good girl, which I think is really fun to see horror films subvert, and they
Yeah.
subvert that stereotype very often.
Especially
Mr. Popcorn.
nowadays. Especially
Yeah,
nowadays.
for
Yeah, the
sure.
subverting of expectations, because this is a trope, like if not
Mhm.
the most famous trope, I'd argue, in horror. Yeah, is the final girl, either running away, getting away from, or besting the monster. It's definitely in the top five. It's definitely in the top five. But it's very interesting because these tropes, this tradition, has largely been formed by men. And it's taken time to, because, most of the movies were directed by men. Yeah. Or certainly produced by.
It's
Yeah.
in my list. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's very interesting from the get-go that the concept of final girl came to be, that these were male writers writing female protagonists, yeah, characters that were the
Yeah.
female and the protagonists. And it's taken time, as it does with any historical period. It takes time to, you need to reflect upon it, and therefore you can subvert expectations. You can write woman, sorry, you can
Right,
write
woman.
articles and books like Men, Women, and Chainsaws, which is another one by Carol
Yes.
that I've
I
got.
think
Yeah.
it's part of that. That's where the
Historian
theory
bookshelf
is.
house.
I would
Like,
love to read that.
would be fine with that. Yep. Ask them first, of course, not going to speak for
Yeah.
them. So yeah, and it's also taken time to subvert those expectations. And of course, there's more equality, not enough, but more equality in the horror industry. I'll keep it specific that, yeah. And there's female powerhouses in the horror industry nowadays as well. So it's taken time to look back on these tropes and look at the imbalance, I'll say at this point, and yeah, build upon that, subvert it, create new angles out of it, new characters, new ways of looking at the final girls, at looking at gender and human identity and existence in general, and total and macro. Yeah, and as I mentioned before, just off air before we started to record, going back over this, I think this is my favorite trope, and definitely one of the major reasons I got into horror in the first place. Yeah. What is a final girl? Final girl has changed over the years, absolutely. A big one is the virgin gets killed first and then the tough chick survives at the end, but it doesn't always have to be Ripley per se, if you want to use Alien. Yeah. It can be someone very extremely vulnerable, and nowadays it can be a bad person as well that you don't want to root for. That's also coming. There's the new Hellraiser movie where the female protagonist of that wasn't that shit hot. Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. It's a very interesting subject. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's huge. And we were sort of talking about just before we started recording the Scream Queen and the Final Girl and how they are sort of, I guess, two in the same, sort of like, I feel like every Scream Queen is sort of a Final Girl. Like you think of like Jamie Lee Curtis is a Scream Queen, Final Girl, I guess. I don't know, who are the other famous Scream Queens? I guess they all sort of end up being the one that survives at the end.
Baron, like curious to hear what you think, because Scream Queen is very historical as well, because you're looking at people like Leanna Quigley and such people, yeah. And they're noted as Scream Queens. I don't know if controversy is the right word, because yeah, Scream Queen, it comes with controversy as well as it comes with a sense of prestige to it, because Jamie Lee Curtis has the prestige because it's taken time. But then there's others. You have, what's the name from Exorcist and Leanna Quigley, who are there.
That's true.
They're more for kind of basically, I would just say controversy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. Do we want to get into our lists? Should we start with our number 5?
Number 5, alive.
Yeah. Is that how we want to go?
Yeah, let's go from 5 to 1.
Yeah, cool. Should I go first? I don't know. Yeah, great. This one might be controversial, I think. I don't know. I know people have a lot of feelings about this film in general, but it was a big gateway for me into horror, and that's Julie James from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Jennifer Love Hewitt's character. I think she's like she's just a cool female character. I like where her head's at. She's very empathetic. Like I'm when I Googled Final Girl, another sort of definition that came up was a character who spends the whole film noticing the threats around them. And I think she's, like a textbook final girl. And I feel like you really root for her. And she very much embodies the good girl character. She doesn't do anything wrong. Yes, that's her. Yes. I also love Jennifer Love Hewitt so much. It was a big,
Did you watch is that of your...
Absolutely. I was young, so it scared the shit out of me. But I loved it. So yeah, I think Julie James, she's just got a special place in my heart. I love the I Know What You Did Last Summer movie, even though it's kind of trash.
We should comment if we've seen opinions on as well. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to.
Yeah.
I'll start. I can tell that it's important to you, and I know Dorian likes it as well, so I'm not going to crap on it. It wasn't for me. Yeah, this
So
one.
fair.
I watched it when I was doing the Final Destinations and Urban Legends and all that sort of thing, going through that, and
Mm,
yeah, no, it just wasn't for me. Baron,
Am I commenting on that, or am I going to my number five?
a comment on the if you've seen, if you know you got
Uh,
any.
Look, I liked it fine. It was good entertainment. Um, I don't think it'll ever be a classic for me,
real.
because I'm more of a Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th guy, and it seemed like they were copying other stuff that was out. It was the among the first of the new slashes, and I don't think it got its way into my head as much as Scream did for me. So Scream was the one of the modern that got into my head, and still liked I Know What You Did Last Summer. It wasn't quite the same for me, but
Yeah,
she was great. Jennifer Love
Which
Hewitt was great in it.
which one was first? Surely
Scream,
this one, right? I know it.
Scream, wasn't it?
I
Scream.
think it was
Yeah, let me double
first, and then
check.
Scream.
Really? Because I was like, I always thought that Scream was sort of taking off. I know they came out quite similarly, but I always,
Yeah, yeah.
So Scream was 1996. Oh no, I might be wrong.
Because I'm not sure because Scream's the parody movie of all of these movies. People,
yeah, because like,
So
Scream's
Scream
actually
was first in 96, and I Know What You Did Last Summer
yeah.
came out in 97.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
I
that's
might have seen them
interesting.
out of order. So Michelle Gellar. I'm a big Buffy fan.
Love, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know why this one. I think I saw Scream at the cinema, and then I Know What You Did Last Summer on VHS, maybe.
Yeah, I think I missed I still haven't seen Halloween, still haven't seen Friday the 13th. Like a lot of the classic thrashers, slashes
Trashy.
and thrashers, they're thrashing. Um, so I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, but like once. So I feel
Yeah.
like this was the slasher for me, which is like maybe a
Fantastic.
disappointment.
Oh, no, no, that's
But yeah,
fine.
this is why it's my first.
Valid.
Absolutely. Any slasher that is a first slasher for people that is significant, that's important, and that's great. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's why we have a history of these things in new generations that keep loving horror. And that's why Terrifier 3 has finally finished its run, and it's either, I forget, 82 or $86 million.
Just over
Wow.
84.
Was it 84? Sorry, there you go.
Just over
Smacking.
84, I believe.
Yeah,
I get
biggest,
it wrong.
most successful, financially unrated film of all time. Yeah. It's yeah.
Wow.
So if I may segue, yeah, Sienna. It's
Yeah,
my
go for it.
Sienna Shaw, played by Lorna Rivera. That's it, isn't it? And yeah, what can I say? I mean, we've covered Terrifier 3. We will of course cover the rest of the movies. Have you seen Terrifiers? There, Scream Queen? No, you haven't seen.
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Oh, will you like them, Scream Queen? I think you will like
I
Sienna.
think that I
I do
think
like
that
it.
I will like them.
Yeah.
I have a
Be
good
prepared,
feeling.
as you know. I mean, you don't live under a rock. The gore, the
Yeah.
only movie that comes close is Passion of the Christ by Mel Gibson. In the way that and Martyrs, I'll throw in there. Episode coming soon. But yeah, the pain you feel. And Sienna Shaw, the modern day Valkyrie, that is Sienna, yes, and
Yeah.
that is on purpose. That reference, because her costume is very Valkyrie inspired, and her endurance, her constitution, what she does for her family, what she does for good, because art is pure evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a mythical and familial sense, is incredible. She kills it. This chickie has been teaching martial arts since she was 12, 13, comes through in the movie. Terrifier 3, she showed vulnerability in the character, so the character is developing as well. I won't do that. Where she's going next is she's going to become mythical with what she's going to pull
Yeah.
off, I reckon. And yeah, so that's why Sienna Shaw is definitively my number 5 final girl.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a good pick for the top five list.
Yeah.
Good, strong character. The story follows her. She doesn't make an awful lot of poor decisions. Like, you feel like she thinks through what she does, even in the heat of the moment. So I like her.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a big call because she hasn't been around that long. People argue not enough time to be put into a top five. But what with three, I think both art is an icon, a horror icon in the pantheon of villains. She's definitely in the top five final horror girls for me. Yeah, with
Sure.
Terrifier 3.
Baron.
All right, so my number five, I'm
Please.
going to go with Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott from the Scream films.
Yes, absolutely.
Incredible performances, looks the part. Her character moves on, like she isn't a one note. She's not two dimensional. She's got you feel genuine fear that she might not make it through because of the ensemble cast. She might not be the final girl. I mean, obviously she is, but yeah, in that first film there was a very definite element of she might not make it through this. It might be someone else. And look, obviously the red herring at the start with Drew Barrymore was great. I really liked that in that film. I think that might be where the feeling of potential horror comes from, is the fact that they killed someone before the credits. This could happen to anyone. But no, Neve Campbell was great.
She's my honorable mention. I'll throw it out now. Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Interesting what you said there with Drew Barrymore, because a lot of the shock was because they've just done that to Drew Barrymore in
Yeah,
1996.
it's on the poster.
Yeah.
But Neve killed it. Yeah, Sidney Prescott, fantastic. From the get-go, put it bluntly, she's not a ditz. She does the
No.
correct things in the moment, under
Yeah.
pressure, all the way
Yeah.
through from the first movie, and she gets better at it. And she is the common sense final girl, definitely. Because, like, I think it's 3, she's moved out into the country in a compound, lives with a dog. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that she helps assault victims on the phone, counseling. Yeah, so there's another aspect to her character as well. She develops emotionally as well as tactically. And then in 5, when she comes back and she's just over the bullshit and she hangs up on Ghostface. Well,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Do I hope she comes back? That's a whole other discussion when it comes to Scream. But yeah, definitely good choice. And check out our Scream episode. Yeah, it's a goodie.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, Sarah, please.
I like she's a cool subversion of the trope as well. Like they like take the classic like final girl elements, but then like they just like she's just a badass and she's just like, I'm not gonna do all the stupid things that they do. I just love her. So my fourth is Mia from the 2013 Evil Dead remake. Again, this is sort of like me like getting into horror, like watching things a little bit more, I guess, like gory for me when I just started watching horror.
This was gory as fuck as well.
It's
Really
there.
well.
I like, which is part of the reason why I haven't watched it like recently, because I've gone to watch it and I'm like, I actually don't know if I'm in the mood for it because it is gross. But I love it. I think she's such a cool, like just the face off with the demon entity at the end is just like so insane. Like it's raining blood. And she's just like, she's been through hell. The house is on fire. Everyone's dead. Like she is the final girl. She's been possessed, like, and now she's like facing off and she just like slices that thing with a fucking chainsaw. It's so good. So yeah, like easy pick for me. She just like really stuck in my head. And I think Jane Levy, who plays her, also does like just like a beautiful job. Like she's such an interesting character. So yeah, it just really stuck with me. So she's my number 4. Yeah.
She came up almost in my list as well. I think that movie as well pairs really nicely with Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, okay.
Great choice. Great choice. I mean, couldn't be happier. She's on my list, so I'm not going to say too much now. But I have one question though. Have you seen other Evil Dead movies?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm like really leaning into that. I've never seen a movie before in my life.
It's become a bold play up the little stream we go down.
It's a series called Sarah Watches Movies she's never watched before.
Oh.
Yeah, for real.
No,
Good.
I haven't seen any.
No, all good, all good. Just curious, just curious. I will.
Yeah, I've just seen the
Let's.
remake.
She's on my list, so let's get into that later. If that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, because Baron. Yeah, that's yeah, of course.
I'm sure we've got some other crossovers. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who are we up to?
Your fourth.
You're number 4.
Okay. Yeah, it's Nancy from Nightmare.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I mean, she's just incredible. She is just incredible. How do you say her last name again there, please, Baron?
Langenkamp
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
or
Heather's
Thompson. Nancy Thompson is the character's name. That's a nice easy one to
Thompson
pronounce.
is the character's name, yes. Heather Langenkamp, yes. She's a
Yeah.
wonderful person as well. She's really cool. What she pulled
Yeah.
off with Nancy and Wes as well with the writing. Again, you're talking about breaking the stereotype. Yes, Baron? You got a question?
Pointing.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. There she is. There she is. And there's Neve in the center as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, of course, Nightmare was the first horror film I saw far too young. Chucky followed soon after with, Child's Play. And looking back on Nancy, you saw that she, like Neve, came to the battle head on as well and figured, and basically figured out the law, figured out his rules, how to fight him in the end, comes back to be a carer, like a teacher and a carer for the kids in the asylum in part 3, the Dream Warriors. Yeah. And I also am a big fan of New Nightmare as well, where she plays herself slash Heather, if you will.
Yeah.
And the fact that she doesn't despise horror, she's just horrified of and by horror. Heather. She's pulled off some of the most iconic roles, definitely. Yeah. So Nancy Thompson's definitely my number 4.
Yeah. I would agree. I've actually got Nancy on my list as well. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, talk more later.
Yeah,
So
yeah, go for it. Sorry. I don't really have anything to add. I'm just talking.
yeah, good. So we're on my number 4. So I've gone with Sigourney Weaver from Alien.
Yes. I was hoping someone would have her on the list.
Of
Not
course.
strictly speaking a horror sci-fi, but
No, the first one's perfectly acceptable.
yeah, yeah.
First one's
So
perfect.
absolutely incredible, especially for the time when it came out. Like it was not a time where there had been a lot of strong main female characters, and Sigourney Weaver just absolutely killed it as Ellen Ripley. Um, Came back even stronger in the second film, which is basically pure sci-fi. But no, I really, really enjoyed her performance. I believed that she could go from just a normal woman to the badass we see at the end of that film, where she's the only survivor with the cat. Blows the creature out of the airlock, like all that stuff was completely believable. Like she didn't suddenly turn up with Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills that were unearned 3/4 of the way through to get her out of a jam. She used the character's native intelligence and native strength to come through in the end.
Definitely. When was Alien released again? What year was that? Was that
It
79?
was definitely late 70s. I've got it open here.
A really good choice. And Sigourney, I wouldn't fuck with Sigourney Weaver
79.
in reality.
79.
79.
Yeah.
No.
Let alone Ripley, yeah. So really good choice with casting there.
Yeah.
What's that South African chap's name who did District 9? Neil
Neil
Blomkamp?
Blomkamp.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
She did a really cool short on one of his Oates short
Ah.
films, yeah, which harken back to Alien and her character of Ripley as well. It's one of the ones on Oates, it's on Netflix or whatever. Just look it up, you'll find it. That's really cool. Great choice. I'm glad, yeah, she's on the episode.
Yeah, she's one of my honorable mentions. And not that I feel like she deserves to be in top 5 100%, but I was like, someone else is gonna have Ripley. And I'm also quite new to the character. Like obviously
Yeah.
I've seen her, but I only just watched the first Alien film like a few months ago. So that was huge for me. And I obviously was obsessed with it. And I just think she's never gonna become like unimportant. Like Ripley is
Yeah.
always gonna be this like
Yeah.
huge figure, I think. So yeah, love that.
Interesting. So you've got to experience ahead of you the emotional roller coaster of what they do with these movies.
Yeah.
Yes, I have I stupidly, I'm like mad at myself in hindsight. I watched Romulus before I
Ah,
watched the first
Okay.
no,
Alien movie.
that's okay.
It is
It doesn't matter,
okay,
Darren. I haven't seen it
but
yet.
chronologically, it
Chronologically,
happens after the
yeah.
first film, like directly. I mean,
Oh, is it a
not
one
directly after.
five or
It's
tens
Sort
thing?
of, yeah. So
yeah,
it happens in between.
Alien and Aliens.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I knew a few things, like the twist in
Yeah,
Alien. I
yeah,
I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew the character's intentions, so that kind of sucked. But it was also like fun. It sort of had rewatch factor in a way because I knew what the character was going into it. Um,
yeah.
so that was cool. But yeah, it's new to me, so I've yet to experience the Alien franchise. So I'll keep you updated on
Yeah, dude.
that.
Abs-
All right. So my third final girl is Needy from Jennifer's Body, who you could maybe argue is not a final girl, but I believe that she is. This is my argument is she faces off against the evil of the film and wins
Yeah.
and is goes through hell to do so. A lot of emotional hell to do so. And then she sort of becomes this, I don't know, I guess maybe it is a big subversion of what a final girl is, but like it's so integral to me. Yeah, what do
Yeah.
you think?
You've seen Candyman
Mm,
92. Have you seen Candyman, Screen Queen?
I've seen the remake. I'm
Yeah,
so
no,
sorry.
Oh,
quite a similar arc,
Mm,
actually.
yeah.
And way,
okay.
won't spoil it for you, but at the very end as well, you could argue that's where she wanted to be all along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
No, no, absolutely. I'm down with that choice, definitely.
Yeah, I think she's such a badass and like to go from this sort of like doting best friend to this sort of like vengeful killer is just
Yeah.
great.
And it's
And
Jennifer's Body. Of course it was going to come up. You had to put
it's
it on.
it had I had to if Jennifer survived this movie I would put her but alas she did not. But I love Needy. She's such a good character. Amanda Seyfried killed
Yeah.
it. Um, it's such an interesting character, and like the final sequence of her going and killing all those men is just really great. Really love it.
Yeah.
What's your number three, Mr. Popcorn?
Number three comes from Hellraiser, because very formative film for myself.
Yeah.
And that, of course, then is Kirsty Cotton, played by Ashley Lawrence.
Yeah.
I'm noticing a trope. You've got badass but highly vulnerable final girls in my list here. So that means with that balance, they're willing to go there. And the places Kirsty has to go to defeat Pinhead,
Yeah.
what is Pinhead? What is a Cenobite? Cenobite is a purveyor of pleasure and pain, created by Clive Barker, the gayest, best dude in horror. They're ultra dimensional, extremely cruel, based kind of on hell, but far more 80s leather clad perversion in its aesthetics. And when we're talking about pain and horror, there we are, the lament configuration. Yeah, well, what's up?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, for those listening, who knows what will happen next? Chains, perhaps. Yeah, and where she has to go in the second one with it, spoilers. In hell itself, it's incredible. I'm going to assume I will slap my hand if I'm wrong. There, Screen Queen, is this on the list?
Um,
Screen
on
Queen,
my list,
yeah, watches the classic movies. Is this going to be on
I
the
have
list?
it is on the list.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I'm sorry. My housemate just started watching this series. It has been on my list for a while because I know that I would just be obsessed with it. Like it has everything in a movie that I could possibly love. I'm just very, very late to the game.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. We've got a new playlist for the channel.
Yeah.
Baron, you're obviously a fan.
Of what?
The things I
I've never seen Hellraiser.
not at all. So when did you meet Pinhead then?
Ah,
The first time.
is that a Blue Light Disco?
Blue Disco. Oh God.
No, I was a big fan of horror, and still am a big fan of horror novels. So I'd been reading Stephen King, I'd been reading Clive Barker, I'd been reading Robert McCammon, Ramsey Campbell, like a whole bunch of that sort of stuff. And I'd read The Hellbound Heart before I saw the movie.
Nice. I was
And
after.
yeah, I really enjoyed what they did with it. Like they got the world, I think, as close as they could to the diseased imaginings of Clive Barker. Um, than they could. Yes, I think it was really nicely done. I liked the characterization. Um, I was a little bit distracted by Uncle Frank only because I knew him from Dirty Harry and like then he was in
Oh,
Deep Space Nine and like
okay.
yeah, so but
Huh.
his performance was great. But just
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I knew him from other stuff.
Very interested when you are confronted with the character of Julia, Scream Queen.
Yeah,
Because Julia is one
Mm,
of the greatest villains in horror. Yeah, we're talking
yeah.
okay.
about Frank, but I would say Julia, certainly by the second one, is far more evil. Far
Biggest
more.
monster, biggest monster in the series.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to catch up.
But don't worry, there's only like 10, was it 11 now there?
73.
Easy.
There's 73 Hellraiser films. No,
Awesome.
sorry, I'm thinking of Puppet Master. There's 73 Puppet Master films.
Oh, that beats
Well, I
any.
haven't seen that either.
Not doing that deep dive franchise. Franchise deep dive.
Um,
Where are we up to?
to number
Me,
two. Oh, you
no,
haven't
no,
done your number. I'm so
I've done my number
sorry.
three yet.
What is
So
it?
I'm going way deep back into Final Girl history, not quite to the start. So my number three is the character of Jess Bradford, played by Olivia Hussey in Black Christmas.
Uh-huh.
It's technically the second slasher with a final girl. The first one before it, which I haven't seen a lot of. I've probably seen Black Christmas more. Was Silent Night, Bloody Night with Diane Adams. Was probably the first example of the final girl.
Mhm.
But no, I Jess Bradford being played by Olivia Hussey. I really enjoyed. Like I probably got to see that film a lot. I think it helps that it's a Christmas film, and I think I might have watched it at Christmas a number of times.
Mhm. Mhm.
So even though the Silent Night, Bloody Night kind of has that Christmas thing, it's not quite to me as good as Black Christmas.
Okay, interesting. This is interesting because this is actually on my list of the movies that Mr. Popcorn has not seen, the classics.
Mm.
Both of those, the Silent Night, Silent Night, Bloody Night, Deadly Night.
Silent Night, Bloody Night.
Thank you. I was given it, thank you, Shay, for Christmas DVD over there. And I need to see Black Christmas. And you said the one and two, first and second slasher. Where does Peep Show fit into that?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I've heard that being contested as the first as
Oh,
well.
okay, I'll have a look. The thing that I really like though about Jess Bradford, the character in Black Christmas, is she's got a real strength of backbone. Like she just doesn't back down. I don't think I'd count her as a scream queen because she's so strong. Like she doesn't do that unnecessary screaming stuff. Like that, it was still the 70s. There was an element of that to it, but she was a very
Yeah.
strong character in that film.
Yeah, I'm not to sidebar or digress, but that's the thing with Scream Queens, yeah, because that used to just be the old name that was given to female victims a lot of the time
Yeah.
in horror movies. But then nowadays you have like what's his name, Ryan Murphy TV series called Scream Queens, which
Oh,
are just
yeah.
complete hyper
Yeah.
pop, Unreal's kind of subversion parody of it, kind of. It's Ryan Murphy. We all know what I mean. Whatever.
Look, I enjoyed Scream Queens.
I
I
love
thought
it.
it was
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
both
yeah.
seasons. I own both
It's
seasons.
crazy.
But I know, Ryan Murphy is still Ryan Murphy. I know what I'm watching, though, at the same time. Yeah. It's his true crime stuff there, Screen Queen. You know how he is with his true crime stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah, it irks me a little. And the
I
guy, like,
agree.
mhm.
Oh no. I haven't seen Black Christmas either, so I've
It's worth a watch.
again,
It's
yet
really
again, nothing to add. Um,
good.
so we're up to our top two.
Oh,
Mine,
for clarity, there is a number of films called Black Christmas. This is the one from 1974.
yes.
Bunch of remakes, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true. That's actually true. Grace from Ready or Not is my top two.
That's a
This
really good choice.
Yeah.
she was like, I feel like, she's in the contemporary, the very recent horror films that have come out.
Yeah.
Um, but she was like one of the first characters that I thought of making this list because I just feel like I was like, wow, like she is like a really great final girl. Like the image of her at the end, like you want her to win
Yeah.
so bad. And I think
Yeah.
it's similar to what you were saying about Neve Campbell in Scream. Is like there's a moment where you're like, maybe she is not gonna make it. Like the threat is feels very real. But obviously, like Ready or Not is such a good satire on like the hyper rich, like,
Yeah.
and the sort of the way they see, I guess, brides and women as these sort of disposable figures, I guess, in their little games. The end is so wonderful when she makes it because they all explode, and it's just something that really sticks with you. And I think her in that bloodied wedding dress is like such an iconic image. And I love Samara Weaving, so yeah, she's
That
my top two.
that movie has one of my favorite scenes in a horror movie in it, where one of the other participants is sitting in a window seat in this mansion, watching a YouTube video on how to use a crossbow.
Yeah,
I
so
love that.
good. It's so funny, but it's also
Yeah.
like really like it gets you. Like
Yeah.
you really root for her.
Yeah, no, fantastic choice. Samara Weaving is, I think she is, in terms of acting, the gem of Australia. That for me, yeah, I think she's the best. I will watch anything that she's in. It's just, just her expressiveness. I sit and watch her, watch paint dry. It would be interesting. You do that acting exercise, just sit. Yeah, the Stanislavski thing, just sit. Yeah, watching her do that, I think would be fascinating. Yeah, she just has that presence about her. Like in Azrael, a movie that came out recently on Shudder, barely any dialogue. It's a great movie because of her. And
Yeah.
and I love game horror. I love class horror. Certainly, when you put the two together, this is definitely a nice little niche subgenre
Yeah.
that I'm into. And yeah, this is the big one. This is the big one out of all of them. And part two is happening.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And
okay.
Yeah,
we can't forget The Babysitter. We can't forget Guns Akimbo.
I
yeah.
And
love The Babysitter.
Scream.
Mayhem's cool. Mayhem's really cool
Yeah.
with Stephen Yeun. Yeah.
I think she might be our modern queen of the Scream Queens.
She's in one of the new screens like at the beginning. Yes. That was a
She's in there.
fun cameo.
She's in the discussion. Yeah. Yeah. Her Lavera, they're definitely creating a new generation, which is great. Is it me?
Yeah, too.
Yes.
All right, this was difficult for the number two and the number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I had to toss over. Because we're talking basically what I've been alluding to on the personal basis, or just my absolute favorite horror stuff, horror property. Um, but I went with the personal for number one. So it's Nika, Fiona Dorff. Yeah, Nika from Chucky. Yeah. Now, this is basically from when she
Cool.
first appeared in Curse to the TV series going through all three, seasons. What happens to this poor woman? Yeah. Have you seen the TV show at all there, Scream Queen Baron?
No, I haven't, but I have
Uh,
seen a few spoilers here and there.
Yeah, okay. Well, what just happens to her physically from the wonderful Jennifer Tilly / Tiffany, and still be fighting, still be kick-ass, is just, it's iconic. What she does performance-wise, I think she does it in the movies. Do they touch on it in the movies or just in the TV show? But the different characters that she plays from the different time eras, and then when that reality really starts folding in on itself in the TV show, and the way she pulls it off with a dad, that's all I'll say, is just incredible. As a Chucky fan, just giggling with glee, jumping up and down with glee. Yeah, and Fiona's also wonderful. I don't know if you've ever seen interviews with her as well. Yeah, she's just got a really quirky, funny, smart, personality, dynamic to her. And every so often when she puts on, her dad / Chucky in her eyes and voice herself just naturally without thinking about it, it's like, yeah, you cool. So, yeah, Nika Pierce, played by Fiona Dora from Chucky. Yeah, number 2.
Good choice. Now we've already covered my number 2, which is Nancy Thompson, Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street. I really enjoyed her performance in this. Once again, it was another one of those ensemble casts, but it was pretty clear from the start that she was going to be the final girl, obviously because she was the point of view character. But I think that Heather did a really good job of giving that subtle performance of I'm a survivor, but I am really not happy with this shit, and I'm only doing this thing so that I can get through this and I will survive. But I don't know that I'm going to. So I think she just did everything with that sort of undercurrent of this is going to be the thing that kills me. And then when they get to that scene, the scene at the end, spoilers, where she turns her back on Freddy, you can see in her face, even though she's giving him no power, she's got that worry that this could go wrong. And I think that's why Freddy comes back at the end of that film, because I don't think he was completely banished.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice, Baron. Thank you. That's the only nice little bit of sweetener that's been given to the end of Elm Street for me this whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah. You could say that she banished him completely, and then all of a sudden he's back. And it's like, well, there's no explanation for that. The explanation for that is that she wasn't 100% sure that she was getting rid of all of his power. It's the same thing like through the rest of the films. When he gets banished, he has to build his power back up. So she took a lot of power from him, but she didn't take it all from him.
Yeah, absolutely. And her arc is very interesting because she does start out vulnerable, but her case is one of the classic cases of that the adult world, the figures of authority do not believe her. You know how that is also a classic trope in horror. This really epitomizes it. Hello, Poppy. Yeah, and that being ignored turns into frustration as well, and that's where the badass starts to develop. But this whole time she's developing empathy, and that's why she can come back as a carer, protector, and again battler of Freddy and Dream Warriors as well. So yeah, she is a really fucking good final girl, isn't she? Yeah, good choice.
I think it's time for a rewatch for me. Yeah. Are we up to number 1 now?
Are we doing our number 1s? Okay.
I guess so. Well, this was an easy choice for me. It was like immediately the character I thought of. I knew that she had to be at the top of the list. This is Dani from Midsommar. She is my ultimate final girl. Like, she outlives everyone, and she's happy about it. And she sort of encapsulates this shift that I think that has happened in a lot of final girls that we've sort of touching on earlier, is like the final girls are not always morally squeaky clean anymore, and there's gray, and if not, sometimes it's not gray, sometimes it's very black and white. They are actively doing things to harm other people. But sometimes the people that get harmed deserve it. And I think that I love that shift. I think that shift I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, actually, because I was thinking about this how the final girl has sort of evolved from the sort of 70s Scream Queen
Hmm.
character to, I feel like this is my sort of thinking. We don't want to see women like have to just like go and go and go through all these horrible things anymore. Like I feel like there is like this push to see the final girls actively like causing havoc a little bit. And
Yeah.
I feel like
Hmm. Hmm.
Danny is absolutely one of them. And I feel like, yeah, because I was like, my favorite final girls, I found this hard because a lot of my favorite, I guess, like female protagonists in horror films are sometimes the ones that are the evil characters or the wrongdoers. Or they go from protagonists to antagonists
Yeah.
of the film. So yeah, that she is my number one final
Good
girl.
choice. I
Did I?
like Florence Pugh. She's really good. Midsummer's great for every reason that the Scream Queen just said. I think people want more subtle and less formulaic slashes, which may be why those stories kind of change.
Mm.
Whereas like a lot of the 70s stuff was like, these are the beats that we hit, and that becomes your formula for the slasher. I think the formula has been refined. And
Mm.
Florence Pugh as Danny in this definitely embodies that.
Yeah, it's definitely been refined, and I think that's just basically because women have more voice, and more agency within the industry, and they were going like, no, no, this Scream Queen 70s, we're just victims running around in bras waiting and guys waiting for us to pop our boobs out is nonsense.
Yeah.
And yeah, and nowadays that's why you see a lot more subversion and just a lot more realism in the characters as well. I
Mm.
mean, because I put myself their shoes a lot of the time as well, and it's not a conscious choice. All right, I'm a male and I'm about to put myself into the female. No, no, no. I'm just automatically rooting for the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than that, there's the female victim, there's the monster, boobs are soon. I'm
Yeah.
being reductive, but you get my point. You get my
Yeah,
point.
no,
Yeah.
but yeah.
True.
And I guess it's the good for her sort of
It's
thing
the
that's
good for her
happening.
thing. It's the good for
Um,
her.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
I think Danny definitely embodies that. Like people are like good for her. Like she did
Yeah.
it.
Well, there
And
was an element of that to Samara in Ready or Not. There was that good
Oh,
for
for
her thing.
sure. Yeah. Yes.
yeah, and just the female characters in horror just being written a lot better now
Yeah.
as well. And again, going back to what I was originally saying, it's just very interesting that we're put into the shoes of a female, of a feminist, feminine, wherever you want to put it, perspective in horror, because I think basically it's fear, it's horror of the outside world, or however it's being portrayed and conveyed on the screen. That's the overriding metaphor, and that's I think why a lot of us are fans is just dealing with the horror of the real world. We can sit in this and go through this, and it's a form of catharsis.
Mm.
And I think
Yes.
time that is coming from the masculine, however you want to put that in a universal, metaphysical, or physical human-based sense. Um, and I think as time has developed and writing has developed, that the people behind these movies are just more looking into that. And that's why the idea of a final girl is just expanding and expanding. And that's why I think it strengthens my original point that this is one of the main tropes of horror. This is why it's one of the most important as well, because
Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest empathetic connectors we have to watching horror. Yeah,
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
yeah.
Who is your first final girl? Your top?
That's why, yeah, that's why Mia is my number one from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, and why I relate to her, I think I've done the academic part, but why I relate to her on a personal level. I got this character. I understood before she came to the cabin
Mm.
with the drug addiction. I understand psychologically what was being shown when she was possessed and became a deadite. Marvelous performance during that period of the film as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then when it comes to raining blood, voila. um, yeah, that for me was just the big moment emotionally as well as gore wise and
Yeah.
action wise in the film because she's killing all of the past demons within herself,
Yeah.
slaughtering the Deadites around her. Yeah. And that kind of metaphorical, psychological horror embodied in a final girl. Yeah, number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool,
I
cool.
like the more I talk about her, the more I was like, I honestly think she should like I would maybe put her higher in my list if I had seen the film more recently because she's just so like she's just got so much dimension and she's just just an incredible character. And I think that's like it's just a very, very good topic.
And I
Yeah.
really hope with Evil Dead Rise, with the success of that, and Evil Dead is
Yeah.
continuing.
Yeah, I hope
It,
so.
I think it's the longest running franchise now, even though it doesn't have it, not in terms of the amount of films, but in terms of
The time.
time.
Mm.
Or Halloween.
Yeah, no, it might be, no, I might be completely wrong there. I might have just misheard something or misremembered something. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. But I hope with the success of Evil Dead Rise, Mia comes back. I hope that she comes back.
Mm.
Bruce is cool. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
just throw it out there because, discussion, controversy, engagement. I like this part of Evil Dead more so than Ash.
I
It's a
haven't
big
seen the other ones, but I feel like
love
I would
Ash.
feel similarly.
Love this is why I watch horror more than Ash's Evil Dead's, more than Bruce Campbell's Evil Dead's. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Baron.
they're really close. So Halloween only beats Evil Dead by 2 years.
Okay. Okay. But of course, there's much more Halloween films, and I'm up to Halloween Resurrection in my franchise deep dive of Halloween.
Okay.
Not looking forward to it. I've heard bad things.
It's okay.
Allegedly.
Well, that's a really nice segue to my super basic number one, which is Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode,
Oh,
Halloween.
come on, that's not
It's
basic.
not basic.
Has to
It
be in
has
there.
to be in there. Yeah.
With Halloween, I've watched them pretty much as they came out.
Wow. Okay. Cool. 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 So yeah, I get that. It's Laurie Strode because you've seen Laurie Strode grow up.
Yeah.
That's really-
Well, for 46 years. Yeah.
There is Sally from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, but Sally is a survivor. Sally,
Yes.
she got out of the dinner scene, then she just ran. Yeah.
Yeah.
She is probably number one scream queen.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And not because she was made to do this or that,
Yeah.
because it's an important role, absolutely,
Yeah.
definitive.
I've got her as an honorable mention as well. So yeah. You say that Gail Weathers from Scream is a survivor as well.
Mm.
I saw a lot of people putting her as a final girl.
Yeah.
Because she does survive, but she messes a whole bunch of stuff up. She's a little chaos stirrer, chaos creator, though as well in those films. So that's my hesitancy of calling her a final girl.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. I would happily have her as a survivor or a scream queen, but I don't think she's a final girl.
Just quickly wanted to mention before I forget, when you were talking about Scream, the power of the ensemble cast as well to create the vulnerability in Neve. That also is done by the concept of Ghostface as well. You don't know, it could be anybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, until you look at the shoes.
and the fact that that tunic is sparkly.
Yeah.
I forget which you actually see it sparkling, but it's proper sparkly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ghostface, love you though. Don't get me wrong.
I was just gonna say, do we have any honorable mentions that we haven't
Well,
already mentioned?
so I've got Kristen Connolly who played Dana Polk in Cabin in the Woods. I really liked her in that.
Yeah,
Another one.
that was my honorable mention as well. I had Dana and Marty because I
Yeah.
feel like they're both the final girls of that
Yeah,
film. The two of them left. Yeah, they were. I really wanted to have them on my list, but I was like, I just feel like they're not as like gutsy.
They're top 10, but they're not top 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I had Kristen Connolly and I had Marilyn Burns, who played Sally Hardesty, obviously, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But yeah, as you say, she's a survivor, not a final girl. I've got one I want to put to the group.
Okay.
It's not
Can't guarantee I've seen the movie.
okay, but it's not traditional. The movie Prey, with the Native American girl as the protagonist, is absolutely incredible. I love it to bits. It is my favorite of the Predator films.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting. I need to watch this film. I've heard very good things. I'm not a big Predator person like at all, really, but or Terminator if you want to go down that line.
Yeah.
But I've heard many, many good things about Prey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to continue, I've heard, with this concept, yes, of
Yeah.
historical periods, more just one person going against. For our iceberg children, Morjana, I'm not going to try and pronounce the last name, Anna from Martyrs. She is still technically alive at the end of this film. Yeah.
I just so distinctly remember, this is off topic now, but I remember the part where she's in that little shed, or she's in the wall. I think she's inside the wall, and the wood framing of the wall, and that demon is like sticking the knife through the wall, and she's like trying to get away, and you think the demon like sticks the knife through, and you think that it's missed her, but as the demon pulls the knife back, it just slices through her skin. Oh, that was like such a I like remember that moment so clearly because I was just like, wow, oosh. So good. I had an honorable mention. This is not really a serious honorable mention, but Alpha from the sloth from Slaughterhouse.
Yes.
She's my favorite final girl. I just love her. Like she makes it to the end. I know she's the antagonist of that film, but she was an exotic pet who was taken out of her home into a terrible sorority house. So I think that all of her actions were justified, and she made it to the end. And I think that she's a good final girl as well.
Now we need sequels, please, to Slaughterhouse.
Oh yeah.
The more I think about Slaughterhouse, the more I loved it.
Come on the pod, yes, more Slaughterhouse. Yeah, the more I think
good.
out of those kind of movies, it just nailed something special. It really did.
I think those are our top 5 final girls. A little bit of crossover, but not a lot. And a lot of movies that I need to watch now. So that's it.
But please, back to you. Do you want to? Should we round this off?
Yeah, that's it. That's it from us. Those are our top 5. Let us know what your top 5 final girls are on Instagram, comments on various platforms, Facebook.
This video here, you're watching us.
Evil Popcorn Pod.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, reach out to us.
Straight up.
Employ us.
Like, subscribe, tie your friend down to a chair.
Do we have any?
Watch this.
Yeah. Do we have any shout outs that we want to do? I don't have any shout outs.
Oh, look, I've only got my usual, which is Act React, Improv Queensland, Supernova, IFWG Publishing. Yeah, I think that's about me. Splatfest at Evil Corp will be coming up early in the next year. I do have a show coming up in early December called Iron Improvise. It's on about the 15th of December. If this has come out between now and then, that's great. If it hasn't, I hope I enjoyed it.
And to that end, lots of stuff coming out. So follow us at Evil Popcorn Pod. Just do all the silly stuff, that all the other, YouTube people tell you to do, but just engage with by comments, whether
Reach
you like
out.
because we do want to get more of a kind of community type thing going, and the best way is engagement, and it's just through conversation. Definitely, we all like horror films. That's why we're here. Anything you want us to cover, let us know. And out of the box stuff, definitely. Any ideas for out of the box stuff? Because I absolutely know putting this together, there is 5 billion other movie podcasts out there, and about 2 billion of those are horror ones. Yeah. So if we want to do any out of the box ones, let us know. I saw that you really liked Psycho 2. Anything along those lines, very interested in. That's just not covered all the goddamn time. But of course, we're happy and will cover the classics like the Halloweens, etc. Yeah, we actually haven't done any Halloweens. That is a thing. And more girly pop horror, please, Scream Queen, if I may. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do.
Definitely watch Sweet Pea. Yeah,
okay.
That's my recommendation. Any recs?
I started watching Hysteria, which is very good.
Yeah, cool.
And if people like weird horror, that you're not quite sure what's going on throughout. Crazy House, is that what it's called? Crazy
House,
yeah.
Nick Frost.
Crazy House with Nick Frost in it is very good. I really enjoyed it.
Screen Queen.
Look, I've been watching exclusively like animated films from the early 2000s, so I don't I'm super helpful for recommend. Looney Tunes Back in Action. Recommend that one.
Pretty horrific.
Steve Martin at his best. So, yep, Chicken Little, also great.
Close us out there, Screen Queen.
Thank you for listening to our top 5 final girls. Have a wonderful evening. Happy horror days. Tis the season. Yeah. And good night.
Yes, this has been Mr. Popcorn. Gute Nacht, don't let Krampus bite. Baron?
Well, unless you've got a safe word. Good night, children. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Oh, I love it when you're evil. This is me at my most evil.